Hi everyone, it's me Liv. I'm back for this month's design team project and I am going to be using the newest kit here. This is in the June box for anyone who got it. You can also get it separately and that one is called Be Mermazing. This one is called Hugs and Fishes and this is the perfect water mermaid theme type stamps for the month of June with everyone thinking about the summertime weather out here. I'm pairing it with this Maker Forte stencil and it is perfect for a slimline card. So that is actually what I'm going to make today. So you can see that the paper that I have below, I actually cut it about a 1/4 of an inch bigger because I wanted to go ahead and use to do some edging. So I'm actually going to use my washi tape just to go ahead and hold the stencil down. And then I'm going to go ahead and start using some of my distress inks for the circles. Since I am going with an ocean theme, I thought I would stay more with the bluish with some slight green colors in here. So the first color I'm using here is called Mermaid Lagoon. And once I've gone ahead and do that, I do use these bristle brushes here. And I'm going to start it on the bottom because this is the darker of the three colors that I have that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and blend it on the bottom of each of these circles. Once I have this bottom color blended, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the middle color, which for this one I'm using Peacock Feathers. So I did go ahead and clean my brush off quickly on the side just to get some of the other residue off and then go ahead and go in with that peacock feather as I had mentioned before. So I'll do this across each three circles that you're going to see me do, and then the final color that I'm going to be using here is Cracked Pistachio. And the reason I went with this greenish yellowish color on the top is because I'm thinking more of when you see the ocean and how the sun is coming down. It tends to be lighter and then become darker as it reaches down. So this green kind of would have some of that sun coming through it is what I was thinking when I was putting these three colors together. So once I've gone ahead and finished all three circles, I'm going to be moving on to using the stamps here. But before I do that, like I had mentioned before, I purposely left about that 1/4 inch of making sure that the base paper was actually larger than the stencil because this is going to be a one-layer card. I'm not adding any additional dimension to this card besides what you see on it. So that's when I'm going to go back to those original blue colors that you saw and actually ink all the edges. I don't want it to be the same color, so I'm going to use all three colors along here. So I'm just going to pick various spots here. Just going to put them again, as I mentioned, in various corners of it using those same three colors. I do have to move my tape around a little bit so I can make sure that I can get these corners and make sure that all the sides are blended as much as possible. Now, once all the outer edges are done, I can then move on, like I mentioned before, to use the stamps that I have here for the image. Now, for something like this, because it doesn't need to be perfect when I'm doing along the edge, I'm just trying to blend the colors a little bit better. And this is a fantastic way to create a single layer card. I find that I often do try to do very flat cards if it's anything that I actually plan to mail out, because it's so difficult to mail out super chunky cards in the mail, even though I do love to make them. Those are the kind of cards, my chunky ones, that I tend to give in person, and then my thinner ones are the ones that I'll send out in the mail. So now for the big reveal, so you see what it looks like. Isn't this fantastic? I just love the way the stencil created such a perfect balance here. I'm actually going to put the stencil back on because with the stamping, I only wanted it to be centered in the areas that I have the ink on. So I'm going to go ahead and place my stamps here. I'm going to put the seahorses in the center and then go ahead and put the octopus on one end and then put one of the fishes on the other. Now, I felt like the octopus's circle was still a little bit too bare, so I'm going to move it down a little bit and then use this shell edging here just to give that particular circle just a little bit more pizzazz. So once I have that, I'm just going to go ahead and use my Misty because it is a great way and a great tool if you don't have one to make sure that you stamp in the same exact spot multiple. Now, since I used Distress inks for the circles, I thought it'd just be easier to go ahead and use the Distress ink for stamping as well. This one is called Black Soot that I am going to be using here. So I'm just quickly making sure I get it into all the different crevices, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp it using my platform. So as you can see, I usually do need to stamp at least 2 or 3 times. And I was initially pushing down with my fingers, and then I forgot about my homemade stamping aid that I made in another video. So I decided, let me get that out to help with equalizing a little bit more of the pressure, especially when using clear stamps. I find I have to do that a lot more. So I think it came out pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and hit it at least one more time to make sure that all the black is really crisp on this image. So again, using the Distress ink Black Soot, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the 3 images over again. Again, using my stamping aid to push some little equalized pressure down here, and this would be the second time that I stamped. So what do you guys think? I think it's a pretty crisp image. I'm really happy with it. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover up the fish because I want to make sure I don't accidentally get any of it covered by what I was planning to do. So I'm taking out these little bubbles, and I'm going to go ahead and put some by the fish and one by the seahorse. And then I'm actually going to use some of the coral stamps from both of the sets on the bottom of it because, again, I felt like the circles were just a little bit too plain. So that's why I'm making sure I'm covering up my fish. The one that I'm going to use for the seahorse fits perfectly in between them, so I don't have to worry about that necessarily. So again, going in with that black Distress ink, which is again the Black Soot color. But even with my stamping aid, I found that I couldn't get completely around those circles. So I ended up really kind of freehanding it. This is a little tricky, so I don't know if this is something I would necessarily suggest for home. But if you're good enough and you know what you're doing, I'm sure you can make it work. So I ended up just peeling these little stamps off. I'm going to go ahead and re-stamp it with putting it in my fingers and making sure I can get it really down into those little crevices without it going outside the circle. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put some all along the bottom here of this image, which is what I'm trying to do, and make sure it does not go underneath the circle stencil. I'm going to do the same thing to the middle piece just to get a little bit more depth and make sure that it carries all the way through. Putting that pressure there, and ta-da! My image is pretty much done. Now, if you are looking for the stamp kit, you can find both of these sets over at the Not Too Shabby Shop. These are original design stamp sets that are only created for the Not Too Shabby Shop, so you're not going to find them anywhere else. They also do come in our June kit if you would like all the different accessories that comes with it. I'm just showcasing the stamps. You can buy them individually or in the set. So definitely go check out the Not Too Shabby Shop to see this collection as well as many of the other fantastic collections they've had in the past. So my card is pretty much done. I was going to leave it, but I think you guys all know my fear of too much white got the better of me. And so I decided I had to put a little bit of my mixed media type of spin on it just to finish it off, because that's what feels like a project that I would do. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly use those center circles to cover up my work because I do not want that area to get dirty. And who wants to guess what I'm going to do? You knew it. I'm going to do splatters. I am using, again, Distress Oxide sprays. This one is Mermaid Lagoon all over the front of it. Then I'm going to pull out my cracked pistachio, which is the other color that you see featured on the top of the center of the circles. And then my card, I can officially call done and just fits my style. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can find these stamp sets, and you can actually also find this fantastic stencil for those of us who love to do Slimline cards over at the Not Too Shabby Shop. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Take care, guys. Bye.